Okay, we'll make a start as we have a lot of stuff to cover today. So welcome to this Thursday afternoon session. It's a Canvas and Zoom general refresher. So you might be a lecturer that's lectured before in MTU and know a bit about Canvas and Zoom, but you just need a refresher basically. And I'm going to cover as much as I can in this session, but we do just have about half an hour and I have to cover both Canvas and Zoom. But I'll just remind you that we have already a lot of training done this week on Canvas and Zoom, and some of it goes into a bit more detail. So I'll show you how you can get to those videos as well. They're all uploaded to our YouTube in case there's something that I didn't have time to cover in this session. And hopefully you can see, as I said, the Zoom controls here because I'm going to show you Zoom from Zoom since we're doing this session in Zoom. Oh, and hello to everyone that's watching either live or the recording on YouTube as well. And you can ask questions in the chat. So I can actually indicate here, you can ask questions in the chat or in the Q&A. Just note that when I open it, everyone's going to see it, which wouldn't be the usual thing, but I'm sharing these controls here. But you can also ask them in YouTube and one of my coworkers will be able to flag it with me and then we can answer those during the session as well. So I'm just going to go through some slides and then we'll get into a demo. So the session outline. So first I'll cover Canvas. So I'll cover things like logging in, accessing your modules, the module interface, communicating with your students. I'll go over how to create assessments and then probably one of the more important things, how to get Canvas support. And then for Zoom, I'll show you how to schedule Zoom classes and go over some of the features in Zoom. So just a refresh on how to do some of these things. So first thing I'm going to look at is Canvas. So Canvas is MTU's learning management system, or LMS. So if you ever hear anyone talking about an LMS, that's what it is. Canvas is our LMS. It's also sometimes called a virtual learning environment. So all staff and students have access and are enrolled on relevant modules in Canvas. And what you use it for is for sharing resources, putting out assignments, and then receiving the files back from your student and communicating with your students. And it kind of reduces the need for emails back and forth as well. We also have a lot of different things that are integrated into Canvas. So in TL, we have Zoom is integrated into Canvas, and I'll show you what that looks like. We have anti-plagiarism integrated, automated assessments, learning analytics, and digital attendance. And a lot of these things I won't be able to cover in great detail in this session, but we will have future sessions on them, such as anti-plagiarism. There's also mobile apps you can get. There's an Android and an iOS app. There's a student app and a staff app. So if staff want to use it, you get Canvas Teacher, I think it's called. And if students want to use it, they get Canvas Student. Then for logging into Canvas, you've probably done this before. You go to cit.instructure.com. Just as a reminder, our authentication has changed since the IT breach that happened in February, but there is instructions on how to log into your Canvas here. So it's your staff number at mtu.ie, and then you log in, and imagine it's the same as logging into your Outlook. Or logging into WorkVivo or something like that. It's the same password as that, so that's how that works. Okay, so I'm going to go straight into a demonstration then of Canvas. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to close this down and open my Canvas dashboard. So you might recognize this as the Canvas dashboard, and you'll see when you open your own Canvas dashboard as a lecturer, you'll see that there'll be a list of modules here, and they'll be either published or unpublished, basically. So when I'm up in published, those are modules that are available to students that are enrolled on them and they can see them. Whereas anything unpublished is unavailable for students to be able to see. Basically, they won't be able to access them or see them on their own student dashboards. What you can also do if you have lots and lots of modules that you're enrolled in as a lecturer, and they might not all appear here because I think there's a limit on how much can appear on your dashboard. You just click modules here and click all modules. and then you'll see all your modules. What's also helpful here is your past enrollments will appear here because they'll often disappear from your dashboard because they want to just keep it to your current modules. And if you still want to get into those modules, you can find them by going to the modules, all modules, and then scroll down and there's your past enrollments. You'll see here as well with each module, there's a little star beside them. And if I click on a star, then that's going to highlight the module as I want it to be on the dashboard. So if I wanted to tidy up my dashboard and only have a few modules show up there, I'll just click a few and then go back to my dashboard. Now only these 4 modules that I highlighted are showing on my dashboard, because you might still have some modules that are past enrollments that you don't really use that often, that you don't want to show up on your dashboard. You can just not click on those, and then that's how that works. And the reason why all my modules were showing up before was if you don't have anything highlighted, it'll just show as many as I can on the dashboard. Which is just how I'll leave it for now. So yeah, it's just refreshed and now it's all the modules again. So I'm going to open a module and I have a test module here that I can use. So I'll just open it. And this already has a lot of content in it, but I'm just going to talk about the navigation for a minute. So there's on the left side of your module, so every module in Canvas, there is a number of navigation items. And you also see some of these have this little icon, an eye and a cross in it, and those means they're not visible. So you see here, this one's not visible because it says there's no content in it. So we have no discussion forums on this module, for instance. But if I put a discussion forum in, then this image would disappear, basically. The same with files. This is disabled. So basically we try not to have students be able to go to files like this. We'd prefer them to use units, and I'll discuss units in a minute. Same with outcomes and collaborations, they're not needed. But if I go into settings here, this will be a bit clearer. And then I click on navigation, I can actually move things from being visible to students to being invisible to students. So say my module, like in this module, we actually prefer students not to be able to see other people that are in their class. So I'm going to move the people to hide them from there, and then I'm going to click save. And now students won't be able to see the people tab. The people tab basically just has the list of people that are enrolled in the module. We don't want students to be able to look at that list. So that should be by default in your module turned off. If I go back to home, just going to show you probably the most handy tool in Canvas is the student view. So if I click student view here, you'll see that anything that was marked with the eye with the line in it is not showing up. This is what the student would see. So this is basically a fake student account that is viewing the module, and you're seeing what the student would see. So when you're making stuff in your module, it's a good idea to click student view and see what the student will see when they're doing stuff. And I'll probably do student view a couple of times while I'm showing Canvas here, just so you can see how things look. So I'm just going to leave student view. So I'll go into units. So this module already has units because we've used it for testing before, but I'm going to show you how to make a unit from scratch. So to do that, you just press this button up here, plus unit. And actually, I'll explain what units are if you don't know. They're basically kind of like folders. So actually, I'll show you with these. They're kind of like folders within your module where you put content. And the content can be a lot of things. It could be an assignment, a discussion, a file, a URL, a video. It could be all manner of things. And I'll show you how that works in a second. And also, they don't have to be called week 1, week 2. That is a common thing that people do. They label each week for each week, and then put the content for that week in each folder or unit. But you could also do it by topic if you want to, or by the nature of what the content is. It depends. You can name it whatever you want, basically. So I'm going to add a unit. So I'll just click unit, and I'm going to call it week 1 as well. I know we already have a week 1, but just to show you, and click add unit, and it'll add it to the bottom of the unit. So what's really easy in Canvas is you can click and drag things. So I'm going to drag this all the way to the top, and there it is. So then I can add whatever I want into this unit. So I can either do that by clicking here, or I can add here, but first I'll just add a file. So I'm just going to click this, and I think I have a folder, and I'm just going to add this PDF called using Zoom. There we go. Now I have a folder called week 1, or a unit called week 1, and I have a file in it called using Zoom.pdf. And then if I click into it, then opens the file. Yeah, so opens the file for me. So I'm going to go back to units. Right, so I'll show you the other way that you can add stuff, and it doesn't have to be just adding files. So you press this little plus button here on your unit, and this is the list of the different things that you can add to a unit. So you can add an assignment, a quiz, a file, page, discussion, text header, external URL, and an external tool. So I won't be able to go through each one of these items, but I'll show you some of them. So I'm going to add a page. You'll see here this module itself already has some pages in it, but you could also create a page. So if I click create page, and I'm just going to call this test page, and click add item, then I have a page that's been added, and then I can just click into it and then click edit page. And then I can add stuff into it. It's kind of like adding HTML, but it's just, it has this WYSIWYG editor up here, and you can add links to other things. So you could add an external link, just a URL, or you could add a module link. So if I do that, I could pick a unit and then link to something in one of my units. So link to week 4 or something, I could put that in. You can add media, you can add a document, you can add a YouTube video, and you can just add text as well, basically. And then you can save and add that. I'll go back to units again. I'm going to add a URL now. So if I do plus again, go to the drop down, and I'm going to say external URL. So I have a URL. I'm just going to pick our help docs. So I'll copy that link. I'm going to paste that in here, and I'm going to call it help documents. And I'll say load a new tab. So it'll load in a new tab, and then click. And then it'd have this little thing here, and then there's the link. Now back to units again. Another thing, now this isn't really adding a file or content, it's more for the visual of your how it's going to show to students. I do recommend using text headers so you can maybe separate stuff within a unit. So if I just click text header here and I say introduction, maybe, and then maybe I indent it one level as well. So click add item. And this doesn't link to anything, doesn't do anything. It's just a visual element. So I could have anything related to introduction or a certain topic here. And then I could add another one like conclusion. And then really this can be anything. Add that, and then anything that's related to conclusion would go under here, basically. So that's just like a visual thing, and it makes more sense for the students to know, okay, everything there is under that topic, everything there is under that one, basically. And as I've shown you there, you can click and drag units wherever you want. You can even move them to other units very easily. It's very intuitive to just click and drag things. So you might have noticed that there's this green tick on some content, and then there's this circle with a line through it on others. And that's all to do with visibility and publishing of the content. So the visibility of the content, whether your students can see it. So if I click student view again, you'll notice that that week 1 that I just made is not there. And I'll show you why. I'll leave student view again. It's because the actual unit is not published. So one thing that's really important to note is that even if something in a unit is published, if the unit itself is not published, then none of your students are going to be able to see it, basically. So this is where you need to publish the content. So you can either click this button here, and you can either say publish unit and all items. So that will publish everything in the unit. Publish unit only. So if I do that and then click student view, then we're only seeing that one thing and the unit. Then go back, leave student view. I can unpublish unit and all items, and then it'll stop being visible to students again. Or I can publish unit and all items. So if I click that, it's publishing everything in my unit. And when I click student view, then everything is visible to my students. Leave student view again. Yep, so, and then if I wanted to unpublish, I can do all that too. And I can just publish the unit, and I can do things singly as well. So it doesn't have to be on the unit level you're doing this. You can also just publish things one by one as well. And if you want to as well, if you have stuff set up in Canvas and you want to publish everything, this is kind of I think a new feature only in the last few months, but you can go up here and publish all units and items from right here if you wanted to publish everything. You probably won't want to do that. You'll probably do that on a unit level if you're releasing things week by week. But if you did want to publish everything, you can do that right up here as well. So then one other thing to note is the publishing of the module itself. So if I go to home, actually, if I go to dashboard, you'll see these are listed as published modules. And down here, we're listed as unpublished modules. So you want to make sure that your module is published or your students won't be able to see it. So I think go into this one if it's showing. Let me see. Yeah, module is published. It'll show here. Usually now, because these testing modules have submissions that I'm going to show you, the publish button is not showing on them. I might be able to find a different one. Hold on. Yep, so it's this button here up here. So you make sure you click publish here, and it'll publish the module, and then your students will be able to see it. And if you want to unpublish the module, you can do so here. Just to note though, if you grade students, if your students submit to an assignment and then you give them a grade, you can no longer unpublish the module anymore. Okay, so what's the next thing? Okay, I'll go back into the module, the test module that I'm using. And I'm going to go over announcements. So if I click announcements here, you'll see, because we've been testing with this module, there's already a few announcements. And you might have noticed as well that those announcements appear on the home page. So when your student logs in and goes to the home page of their module, they'll see the announcements at the top of the page, which is quite handy. So we recommend using announcements to announce when a class is on, or if a class is cancelled, or announce that assignment is coming up, maybe a due date or something like that. So I'll just show you how to make an announcement. So it's similar to making a page. I'm just going to put in a title. And then I can add any text I want, any information I want into the announcement. I'm just going to put announcement text. I could also, now I showed this slightly earlier, but I could record media into the announcement as well if I wanted. So if you had a video you wanted to put in, you could just drag a file and put it there. You can also click record, and this hopefully should show me in a second. It's taking a second to load. Yep, there I am. And you could click start recording. And then you can just record a message. So you could make the announcement yourself in this video and then click finish and then click save media, and then that will upload into your announcement, and then your students can view it. And it's quite a little bit more personal, I guess, to have the video rather than just putting text. One other thing to point out in announcements that's really handy, especially if you want to get ahead, is to delay posting. So you can click this button here. So you could have an announcement about an assignment deadline. You could get it ready now, but for the end of the semester, for instance. So you could have the announcement ready and then delay posting and have it posted at a certain time. So I'm just going to click the calendar and pick a random date and a time. So I'm just going to say that's 4 a.m. Let's say 4 o'clock on the 16th of November. And you can allow people to comment or not. I'll just turn that off for now and then click publish. And you'll see it says this announcement will not be visible until that date. So it's not going to appear on the announcement feed here because it's a delayed announcement. So if you wanted to just make an announcement that went out straight away, then you wouldn't click delay announcement. One other thing to note with announcements is that they'll go into your students' email. So they'll get an email whenever there's an announcement, so they'll be notified in their email so they won't miss something. Whereas if you add something to a unit, they won't get an email notification on that. The next thing I want to cover is assignments. So I'm just going to click assignments here. And we have a lot of test assignments in here, but I'm just going to show you how to create an assignment quickly. So click assignment. And then I'm just going to give it an assignment name. And you could attach a brief if you wanted to, if you had a document brief. Again, this is the same text editor that you had for pages and announcements. It's the exact same thing. You could upload a brief document from your computer. I'm just going to add this. It's a PowerPoint, but you could upload something as the attachment in the assignment, or you could give the instructions in the text field here. And then you can assign points to the assignment. So I would recommend doing it maybe out of 100. So if you had one assignment that's worth 30% and one that's worth 70, then you'd give it 30 points for one and 70 for the other, basically. And then you can put it in the assignments group. And then if I just scroll down, the submission type, you generally would want to pick online. And what most people would use is click file uploads. But just to go over the other options, so this is just the way that your students will be submitting to the assignment. So they could have text entry. We'd probably recommend them uploading a Word document or something instead of text entry so that they can have a copy for themselves though. But if it was something where you just wanted them to submit a URL for assignment, you could have set that as the online entry. Media recording, so that recording I did earlier, you could have that as the assignment submission where they have to make a media recording. Student annotation you probably won't use, but file uploads, that's the main thing that people will be using. So that's where allowing students to upload files to an assignment, whether that be a PowerPoint or a document or a video or whatever it is. And if you want to restrict it to specific file types, you can do that by clicking that button there and then putting the extension's name. So it gives an example, doc, XLS, or text. You can also indicate submission attempts, how many attempts they can have, and plagiarism review as well. You can select whether it's going to be reviewed for plagiarism or not as well. And as I said before, we won't have time to go over plagiarism in this session, but there will be future sessions on it, basically. Then if I go down, you can skip this stuff, you probably won't need it. But if I go into assign to, you'll generally be assigning it to the whole class. But if you needed to assign maybe a separate assignment to specifically one or two people, you can just click in there and then select their names. Then the assignment due date. So this is just when the assignment is actually due. You can indicate that here. So I'll just put in a due date and a time. So let's say 4 o'clock. And that's on the 17th of September. And we recommend that you do that, but you don't have to use the available from or until. So that means that your students will still be able to submit an assignment after the due date, but you'll be notified that it's a late assignment. Otherwise, if you put an until date in, that just means that the assignment itself will stop being visible to the student. They won't be able to access it even if they're late. They'll just not be able to access. And available from is just setting when the assignment is available to students, when they'll be able to see it. But you can also do that just by having the due setting and not having either of these sessions and just publishing it. So we'd recommend generally doing that. So I'm just going to cancel out of that and look at speed grader. So I think we have an assignment where I can do that. Yeah, so this is an assignment that was set up before. So once your students have completed their assignment and you want to grade it, you generally do it over speed grader if they've submitted files. So you go into the assignment and then click this button, speed grader. It's just loading up. And you'll see a list of people that took it. Okay, I think I had a different one where it had some submissions. Just give me 1 second. This one, yep. So yes, so this one I'm going to go into speed grader so I can show you a bit better. So you can see here we've got my colleague Lauren did a test. She has a file and I also did one as a test student. So I'll click here. And it's taking a while to load, but yep. And it's just the file that I had earlier that I submitted. And I'll just quickly show you that you can add different annotations to whatever they've submitted. You can also highlight things, add text in places, and draw on things. This is where you'd also give them their assessment mark here. So I could say 20%. And I can also put comments. I can add attach files. I can record a video like I did before, or I can add, I can do speech to text as well from there. Okay. And then one last thing. I know that I've gone through this stuff very quickly, and if you do have questions, you can put them either in the chat or in Q&A. But since we're at the start of the semester, one thing that's come up with people asking is importing content from previous semesters. So if you go to home on your module and then click import existing content, and you'll see I just tested this earlier, but all you have to do is select one and then click copy a Canvas module. So if you have a module where you delivered last year and you want to copy some of that content over to this year, click that. Then you just search for your module. So I'm just going to search for a module I know has content in it. And I'm going to pick that one. And then click either all content or select specific content. And then I'm going to click import. Now I did this earlier, so I'm going to show you. This is what came up when I clicked import earlier. And since I said select specific content, I'm going to click select content. And this is all the content that's available. So I have units I can choose from. I can either import them all by doing that, or I can press this button and do them individually. Same with there's assignments, discussion topics pages. So whatever you're importing from your past module, you can either report it all, or you can just go to specific things. Okay, so that's kind of the end of the Canvas refresher. I know that was a lot to go through in a very short space of time. I will move on to the Zoom demo now, and I'm actually going to demo Zoom in Canvas first. So let's just let that load up. So as you probably already know, you can set up your classes in the Zoom integration in Canvas. So you just click the Zoom tab on your module and then click schedule a new meeting. Then you just fill in the details for your meeting. And if it's a recurring class, you can click the recurring button as well and fill in those details. One thing to note as well is if you want to allow people that aren't MTU students or staff to access the meeting, you might have an external presenter or something 1 week on your module, then you need to click the down button here and click all authenticated users. One other thing that might be helpful as well when you're setting up meetings from Canvas is you might want to record the meeting automatically if you tend to forget, but you can also just note to click record at the start of your classes as well, and then they'll record in there in the cloud. If I go back, cloud recordings, now these are from previous test cloud recordings that will then appear here in the cloud recordings tab. So if I go actually to the student view again and click Zoom and then click cloud recordings, this is what the student will see. They'll be able to see upcoming meetings, join them. And they'll also be able to access cloud recordings from this tab as well. One other thing to note is if you want to share the Zoom meeting, I'm just going to leave student view. If you want to share the meeting link, so I'm just going to click start again, click save on this meeting. And if I want to share the meeting link with someone outside of Canvas, I can copy the meeting invitation, copy that, and then I can share it with someone. Alternatively, as well, you can set up meetings in tl.zoom. Hold on, I'll find it. tlcit.zoom.us, which I'm just going to show you, and you can sign in. And you'll see it'll have your upcoming classes in it, but you can also schedule classes from there, and it's much the same as how I showed you in Canvas. It just won't then appear in Canvas for students. But if you have a meeting with a colleague or something like that, then you can set up meetings here and then link out to them. But generally, if you're scheduling classes and you want students to be able to access them from Canvas, then you do schedule it from here, especially because the cloud recordings will then also appear here automatically. So then I'm just going to show you some of the controls that we have in Zoom, so hopefully you can still see them. So as you can see here, our first control is the microphone button. So I won't click it because then you won't be able to hear me, but this is for mute and unmuting yourself, obviously. And you can also select your microphone and speaker. So I have a number of microphones I can use and speakers, and I can do a test as well if I wanted to, just to make sure everything's working. Similarly with the video, I don't have my video running at the moment, but I can select video input. So I have an integrated webcam and an external webcam. And I can also change my background and things like that. Participants, this is the participants field. It'll just show me who's in the meeting, and I can also add people as co-hosts and things by doing that, or make people hosts. Then we have the chat window. I'm sure you are used to using the chat window. And we'll skip Q&A. I did do a session earlier today on the Zoom Q&A. It's actually in meetings, not just in webinars, but I won't have time to go over it now, but you're welcome to check on YouTube for that video. And also, what else will I show? The record button. So now you can't see the record button here, but it'll generally appear. There'll be a big record button, but if it doesn't appear on your dashboard thingy here, you just click more and it'll be up here. And again, I'm not going to show you stop recording because I am recording this session. Now I'll just go back into the presentation because I want to show you breakout rooms, but I'm not able to show you from within a webinar. So my colleague Lauren kindly recorded a video on breakout rooms, and I'll talk you through it as we watch the video. So she's going to click, hold on, I need to resize this so you can see the whole screen. Yeah, okay. So let me go back to the video. Okay, so she is clicking on breakout rooms down here, and then she can choose how many breakout rooms to make. So a breakout room is basically you're putting your students into separate rooms where they'll discuss something, basically. So if you have 50 students and you want to make 5 groups, then there'll be 10 students in each breakout room, so you can assign them work to do in the breakout room. So she's just showing, she's making 3 breakout rooms, and you can choose to whether you want to assign them automatically, manually, or let participants choose the room that they go in. So we'll just see, and you'll see who's in which room as well that shows up there. So then she clicks create and the rooms are created. You can then rename the rooms if you want to. So that just shows her renaming the rooms. And you can assign people to the rooms from there too. It's also just showing the option button. So there's some options that you can do from breakout rooms. And you can click recreate, or you can add more rooms, or you can open all rooms. So when you click open all rooms, that's when all the students are sent to those rooms, basically. And if you want to send a message out to those rooms, you can click broadcast and then broadcast message or broadcast voice. And you can either say something or write a message, and then everybody in the rooms will see it. And then just when you click close all rooms, that brings everyone back into the main meeting, basically. And again, I haven't gone in over this in that much detail, but it's all covered in our recent training on Zoom that you can just find on our YouTube, which I'll show you in a minute as well. So then I'm just going to go on to supports at this point. So for support in Canvas, Canvas themselves have their own support. And I'll actually show you. Go back into Canvas. It's this help button here. And you can go web chat with Canvas support. It also has the Canvas telephone number here. So that's how you get. And you can also submit a ticket to Canvas. And there's also a link to our guides there, actually. I'll just go back to the presentation. Yes, so Canvas have 24/7 support. So they're probably your first support call if you're having issues with Canvas. And we have the information on how to contact them. You can email them as well at support@instructure.com. Then for local support, so this depends on what issue you're having, but if it's an enrollment issue or account access, then your first port of call would be service desk at mtu.ie. That's the IT services team here. Especially if you're having authentication issues, they deal with authentication. So that's who you would contact for that. You can also email us if you just need advice on doing different things in Canvas. And our email address is edtech@mtu.ie. And also for things like cross-listing requests, we take those. Instead of Canvas themselves, we're happy to take cross-listing requests, but everything else would go to tier 1, so that's the Canvas support. We have a department website, and I will show it to you there 1 second. So this is our department website. I'll just click home. This is newly designed over the summer, so you might not have seen it yet. But the main thing you'd really want to be looking for is the For Staff tab. And then on that tab, you can find a lot of support. So we have a direct link to our help docs. That brings us there because it's kind of hard to remember this link, tlhelp.eu.helpdocs.com. So we just link directly to it. We also have linked to our YouTube channel. And as I said before, so this is just me live. You see myself there. This is the session I did earlier on the Zoom new features. We also have all the sessions, other sessions we've done this week. So as I mentioned, there's Zoom for new staff and Canvas for new staff that go into a bit more detail on Zoom and Canvas that you can watch as well if you want to see a bit more on them. And we also have a upcoming training calendar. So if I just click in here, that's the training. So this is the training I actually did this morning and the training we're in right now. And I'm conscious that we're running over time, so I will try and finish up. And then next week we do have 2 sessions on Canvas accessibility that you can sign up to. So if you just go to tel.cit.ie and go to For Staff and then click on the training calendar, you can sign up to that. Or you can, if we have future training, which I'm sure we will, you can find it there. Yep, and so the help guides, I showed you how to get there, and the YouTube. So that's basically it. So if you have any questions, you can pop them either in the chat or in the Q&A. And if any of my colleagues sees any questions on YouTube as well, they might let me know and I can answer them here. So I'm just going to mute myself for a second while people get their questions in if they have any. Okay, I don't think there'll be any questions, but if you do have any follow-up questions, then you can email us at edtech@mtu.ie and then we can get back to you anyway. So I hope you all have a great rest of week and great weekend, and of course, a great first semester. So thanks very much, and we'll talk to you again.